Now you play by my rules. The moment my wife Miranda suggested I'd rather kiss her dog than dance with her, I knew our marriage was over. What I didn't know was that she'd already been planning its funeral for months. "Come on, Daniel," she laughed, her voice carrying across the crowded party like broken glass. "We both know you'd rather be in your workshop than here with actual people." The room fell silent. 30-something socialites in designer dresses turned to watch the show, their champagne glasses frozen halfway to their lips. Victor Brennan, Miranda's real estate mogul boss, smirked from his position by the marble fireplace, clearly enjoying my humiliation. I'm Daniel Hayes, 42 years old, former Navy engineer turned custom home builder. I've survived 3 deployments and countless construction site disasters, but nothing prepared me for the surgical precision of my wife's public execution of our relationship. "You know what, Miranda?" I set down my beer and stepped closer to her. The crowd leaned in, sensing trouble in the air. "You'll be kissing the doors of my house when I throw you out of it." Her perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide the flash of panic in her eyes. For just a moment, her mask slipped, and I saw the desperate woman I'd rescued from homelessness 8 years ago, the woman who'd signed a prenup without reading it because she was so grateful to have a roof over her head. "Daniel, you're embarrassing yourself," she whispered, but her voice shook. "Am I?" I looked around the room at her so-called friends. Lauren, the interior designer who'd never worked a day in her life. Ashley, the yoga instructor whose husband paid for everything. Nicole, the art gallery owner who sold overpriced prints to other rich wives. "Ladies, has Miranda told you about her humble beginnings? How she was living in her car when I met her at that charity event? How she cried when I offered her a place to stay?" "Daniel, stop." Miranda's face flushed red beneath her foundation. "But I was just getting started." Or maybe she's mentioned how she never actually read that prenup she signed. You know, the one that says she gets nothing if she cheats. The room erupted in whispers. Victor's smirk disappeared as he realized the implications. Miranda grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "We need to talk. Now." "No, we don't." I pulled away from her grip. "I think we've said everything we need to say." As I walked toward the door, I caught fragments of excited gossip already spreading through the crowd like wildfire. By tomorrow, everyone in our social circle would know that Miranda Hayes' perfect marriage was built on lies and legal documents she'd been too desperate to read. I drove home in my old Mustang, its engine rumbling, drowning out the echo of laughter from the party. Our house, my house, according to that prenup, sat dark and empty on the hill overlooking the coast. I'd built it myself, every beam and nail placed with precision and care. Miranda had decorated it, turning it into a showcase for her new identity as a successful woman who'd never been homeless, never been desperate, never been saved. Inside, I poured myself a whiskey and sat in my workshop, surrounded by the tools and plans that actually mattered to me. My phone buzzed with texts from Marcus, my oldest friend and the only person at that party who'd seemed genuinely uncomfortable with the spectacle. "Dude, you okay? That was intense." I typed back, "Just getting started." Because as I sat there in the silence, pieces of a puzzle I'd been ignoring for months suddenly clicked into place. The late nights Miranda claimed were work meetings. The expensive jewelry that appeared without explanation. The way she'd started criticizing everything about me, from my clothes to my friends to my profession. She wasn't just cheating. She was building a case for why she deserved to leave me. And Victor Brennan, with his slicked-back hair and his Porsche and his reputation for taking whatever he wanted, was helping her do it. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. "Back off or you'll regret it." I laughed out loud in the empty workshop. If Victor thought a threatening text would scare me, he clearly didn't understand who he was dealing with. I'd spent years in the Navy learning how to plan operations, how to anticipate enemy moves, how to turn their strengths against them. And I'd just declared war. The next morning, I woke up to find Miranda's side of the bed empty and cold. Her car was gone, along with most of her clothes. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "Staying at Lauren's until you calm down. We need to discuss this like adults." Like adults, right? Adults who humiliate their spouses at parties and then run away when confronted with consequences. I called Marcus and asked him to meet me for coffee. He showed up looking like he'd slept in his clothes, which he probably had. Marcus owned a small electronics repair shop and had never quite figured out the whole professional appearance thing, which was one of the reasons I liked him. "Man, last night was brutal," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Miranda really went for the throat. She's been planning this," I told him. "I just haven't been paying attention." "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the threatening text. "Victor Brennan sent this after I left." Marcus's eyes widened. "Seriously? What are you going to do? Find out what they're really up to?" I leaned forward. "I need a favor. You still have connections from your security system days?" "Maybe." "What kind of favor?" "The kind that helps me figure out if my wife is just cheating or if there's something bigger going on." Marcus studied my face for a long moment. "Daniel, are you sure you want to go down this road? Sometimes ignorance really is bliss." "Too late for that. She made it public last night. Now I need to know what I'm dealing with." He sighed and pulled out his own phone. "I know a guy, Frank Patterson. Used to be a cop, now he's a private investigator. Specializes in marital cases. Set up a meeting." 2 hours later, I was sitting in Frank Patterson's cramped office above a pawn shop downtown. Frank was thin and wiry with sharp eyes and the kind of mustache that had gone out of style in the 80s. His office smelled like coffee and cigarettes, and every surface was covered with case files and surveillance photos. "So, your wife humiliated you at a party and now you want dirt on her," he said, not looking up from the notes he was taking. "I want to know what she's planning. This wasn't just about embarrassing me. There's something else going on." Frank finally looked up. "There always is. In my experience, when a spouse goes public with their contempt, they're usually building towards something bigger. Divorce, custody battle, financial claim, something where public opinion matters. She signed a prenup. She gets nothing if she cheats. Unless she can prove you were emotionally harmful, neglectful, or violated the terms of the agreement somehow." Frank leaned back in his chair. "Tell me about this Victor Brennan." I told him everything I knew about Victor. Successful real estate developer, married to a woman named Catherine who rarely appeared at social events, reputation for aggressive business tactics, and an eye for other men's wives. "I'll need a few days to gather background information," Frank said. "In the meantime, I want you to start documenting everything. Every interaction with your wife, every text message, every phone call. If this goes legal, you'll need evidence." "What about following her?" Frank shook his head. "Leave that to me. If you get caught stalking your own wife, it'll blow up in your face. But there is something you can do." "What?" "Start acting like the wounded husband publicly. Let people see you as the victim in this situation. Go to the places where her friends hang out. Be visible. Be sympathetic. Be the guy who got blindsided by his wife's cruelty." I didn't like the idea of playing victim, but I understood the strategy. In a war of public opinion, perception mattered more than truth. That afternoon, I drove to the country club where Miranda and her friends often had lunch. I sat at the bar, ordered a sandwich, and waited. Sure enough, within an hour, Lauren and Ashley walked in, whispering to each other and glancing in my direction. I made sure to look appropriately miserable, staring into my beer like a man whose world had just collapsed, which, in a way, it had. "Daniel." Lauren approached cautiously. "Are you okay?" I looked up, making sure my expression showed just the right amount of pain and confusion. "Oh, hey, Lauren. I'm just trying to figure out what happened last night. Where I went wrong." The two women exchanged glances. I could see the calculation in their eyes, weighing their loyalty to Miranda against their natural instinct for gossip. "Maybe you should talk to Miranda," Ashley said carefully. "I tried calling her. She won't answer." I took a sip of my beer, letting my hand shake slightly. "I know I'm not the most exciting guy in the world, but I thought we were happy. I thought she loved me." Lauren sat down next to me, her maternal instincts overriding her friendship with Miranda. "Daniel, honey, sometimes people change. Sometimes they want different things." Different things like Victor Brennan? The words hung in the air between us. Lauren's face went pale, and Ashley took a step backward. I don't know what you mean, Lauren said, but her voice lacked conviction. Come on, Lauren. Everyone saw how they were looking at each other last night. How long has it been going on? For a moment, I thought she might actually tell me. But then her phone buzzed and I saw Miranda's name on the screen. The spell was broken. After they left, I sat at the bar for another hour, watching the other patrons and playing my role perfectly, the confused husband who just wanted to understand what had gone wrong. But inside, I was taking mental notes about who seemed genuinely sympathetic and who was just fishing for gossip. My phone buzzed with a text from Frank. Preliminary report ready. Can you meet tonight? I headed back to his office, where Frank had a manila folder waiting for me, thick with photographs and documents. Your instincts were right, he said, sliding the folder across his desk. This isn't just an affair. It's a campaign. I opened the folder and felt my stomach drop. The photographs showed Miranda and Victor in what were clearly business meetings, sitting at tables with papers spread between them, entering law offices, talking to real estate appraisers outside my house. They're planning something, Frank said. Based on the law firm they're visiting, I'd say it involves either a divorce or a lawsuit. Maybe both. The final photograph made my blood run cold. A real estate appraiser taking pictures of my house. They're going to claim the prenup is invalid, I said. Frank nodded. That's my guess. Probably argue that you coerced her into signing it or that circumstances have changed significantly since it was signed. Can they do that? Depends on the prenup and the judge. But if they can paint you as controlling or toxic, if they can show that she's contributed significantly to the marriage's success, they might have a shot. I thought about Miranda's public humiliation of me at the party, how she'd made sure everyone saw me as the boring, controlling husband who didn't deserve her. It wasn't just cruelty. It was strategy. What's my next move? Frank smiled, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked genuinely pleased. Now we start building your case. And trust me, Mr. Hayes, by the time we're done, they're going to wish they'd never started this war.